What is autism spectrum disorder? Autism spectrum disorder, or ASD, is a neurodevelopmental disorder characterized by deficits in social communication and social interaction and the presence of restricted, repetitive behaviors. The manifestation of these behaviors varies greatly with age and ability, and the notion of an autism spectrum has been introduced to recognize this diversity. In layman's terms, autism spectrum disorder is a developmental disorder that affects social interactions and causes individuals to demonstrate repetitive actions. The occurrence of ASD varies with many factors. One factor that plays a role in the prevalence of this disability is gender. It is more commonly diagnosed in males than females. 1 out of 54 males is diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder, while only 1 out of 252 females are diagnosed. Another factor that plays a role in prevalence is race. 12 per 1,000 Caucasian children are diagnosed, 10.2 per 1,000 Black children are diagnosed, and 7.9 per 1,000 Hispanic children are diagnosed. There are many signs and symptoms that allow parents, doctors, and educators to identify autism spectrum disorder at early ages. ASD is typically recognized in children by the age of 2, as the signs impact many common milestones in early childhood development. Here are some warning signs that can be identified in infants and toddlers. By 6 months old, babies have not demonstrated big smiles or other warm, joyful expressions. There have been no back and forth sharing of sounds, smiles, or other facial expressions by 9 months. There is no babbling by 12 months. There is no back and forth gestures such as pointing, showing, reaching, or waving by 12 months. There are no words by 16 months. There are no meaningful two-word phrases, not including imitation or repeating, by 24 months. Another sign is loss of speech, babbling, or social skills at any age. In addition to the signs that are prevalent at early ages, there are also many warning signs that occur in individuals at any age. Here are some common descriptions of people with autism spectrum disorder. Individuals with autism spectrum disorder remain nonverbal or have delayed language development. They can have strong reactions to any of the 5 senses: touch, hearing, sound, sight, and taste. They avoid or struggle to maintain eye contact. They have difficulty reading body language and facial expressions, which therefore creates a deficit in understanding one's feelings. Individuals with ASD often repeatedly say certain words, phrases, or perform certain actions. This is called perseverating. They do not always interact well with others and often prefer to be alone. They require strict routines and schedules, as the smallest change in a routine can offset a child's day. They can be particular about what interests them. It may not always match up to what interests a majority of other children. For example, a student may be interested in other countries, population, location, culture, etc., whereas other students will not pay much attention to the little details of this topic.
I am going to be providing you with a few tips to be conscious of when interacting with children who have autism spectrum disorder. Tip 1. These children will most commonly have organizational difficulties. For example, they may remember to complete their homework, but they will not remember to turn it in. A few things that educators can do to assist this student is create a checklist for some daily routines, create task cards, post visual reminders around the classroom, and strategically establish clear routines in the classroom in general. Tip 2. Keep a daily routine that provides breaks and times to calm down. This will help to keep the child from getting too stressed out and becoming too anxious. Their confidence will begin to grow as they become more familiar with the routine. It also allows students with ASD to take ownership of their own breaks so that he or she can learn to monitor emotions and build confidence. Create a safe space with tactile, sensory objects for the students to manipulate. For example, a teddy bear, a stress ball, a foam roller, a sandbox, music, and much more. Tip 3. Do not be vague with assignments. Give specific instructions or options. For example, writing prompts. Do not just say, write a story for me. You want to be specific. For example, tell me something that happened yesterday. What happened at the party? What did you do during recess? You want to use explicit and efficient instructions, and you also want to provide opportunities for guided practice throughout the lesson. Tip 4. Be proud of your accomplishments as an educator, parent, learner, or any other part of the support team for this child. Small steps are key. You want to celebrate the small successes that occur. You also want to provide feedback and positive reinforcement. It is not just the child with the autism spectrum disorder that is celebrating their success, but everyone involved. Everyone plays a part in this child's life. Tip 5. Even if a child with ASD is nonverbal, they can still listen. So you want to keep a positive environment. You want to establish signs or gestures to bridge any communication gaps. And you want to provide positive reinforcement.
As you know, autism spectrum disorder can manifest itself in many different ways. There is no one specific set of symptoms or identifications that all people with the disorder have. It is important that as educators, we find ways to support these students in a classroom setting. What experiences do you have with people with autism? Think about the event, how the person with ASD interacted with others, and what symptoms they as an individual showed. How can you support this child as a learner in your classroom?